Hello, good morning, and howdy. My name is Kevin Cloud. Welcome to Cloudscape. This is the first ever video that I'll actually be putting on my channel as of right now. So if you're new and watching this, I greatly appreciate it. This is my first ever video, so please be nice and give me the opportunity to at least advise you as well as give you information. I'm a certified horticulturist, also a scuba instructor. That's another story for another time. Native Texan, born and raised here. We are actually in Zone 8 for those of you who are aware or don't know what that means. We'll get into that into a later time. My message to you guys is only to inform as well as advise. If you like this video, please feel free to stay tuned and watch along, and hopefully we can grow together. Cheesy line, I know. Anyways, we're only going to focus on the cultivars I have in my apartment as of right now. Eventually, as we finish and as we conclude all the ones that I have and own, we'll then start going off to other avenues of information, like fertilizer or dirt. I mean, stale at first, but it eventually gets better. Anyways, without further ado, let's get into the video. So, the first highly recommended beginner or intermediate plant cultivar is Pothos. Reason why? Pothos ivy. I'm gonna really butcher this scientific Latinic name, Epiprinum aureum. I probably butchered the name. I am so sorry if I said that wrong, but it's a really interesting, very easy basic care plant. It's otherwise known as devil's ivy. And the reason why it's called that is because it's just so darn, it's very versatile. It's really hard to kill. Now, if you had Pothos in the, past and it actually died on you, I am sorry. But let's see if we can, give it another try. Now, origin. It's actually native in the French Polynesian as well as the Indian Oceans. It's a species of the flowering plant in the, again, I'm going to butcher the name, Aurum family. Anyways, that's not what we're here for. Now, that's where the origin is, mostly from the Indian Oceans as well as French Polynesia. Now, there are different varieties of Pothos. All come in different varieties, and it's up to you of what's your preference. Right now, we're going to start off with this guy. This is known as Neon Pothos ivy. And the reason why it's called neon is obviously it's for its very vibrant, very bright color. Very vibrant, as you can already see. And he's doing pretty well. Very well, in fact, that he's doing such a good job. And he's very pretty. So if you're into bright colors, very vibrant looking, very, I don't know, a really standoffish kind of color, boom, he's your guy. The other one that I have, hopefully I don't break him, is this one. This is known as Marble Queen Pothos. And the reason why it's called Marble Queen is because, well, for instance, it has this white kind of foliage to it, this white texture to it, right? And it almost has a resemblance as marble. I mean, that's just speculation. I mean, it's just a speculation. It's not really guaranteed as to why that's called that way. But anyways, it's got this beautiful white glossy leaves to it. Very pretty, very nice looking. All right, that's one. And last but not least, I only have three, by the way. Last but not least is this guy. This is known as Golden Pothos. You probably see this guy a lot more than the other two. But this is known as Golden Pothos. The reason why it's called golden is because it has these variegation, which is a type of pigment discoloration on the leaf itself. It's known as Pothos, variegation. We'll look into that. We'll get back into that word and what that means. But those are the only three that of which I have in my apartment as of right now. Now, you're asking to yourself, okay, I had this before. What does it want? What does it need? What does it asks? Very little basic care, all right? Now, light conditions. It can deal with low, mild, and a lot of light. The more light with the Golden Pothos, the better. That's where it gives off its yellow discoloration. If you keep it in a very dark, low light environment, keep in mind though, instead of it being like the marble and the golden where you get those colorations, those different pigment colorations, if you put it in a dark or low room, it's going to go back to just being plain green leaves. So if you want that color discoloration as well as the variegated, put it in some bright indirect light. Keep in mind though, pothos, they do not want direct light. Believe me, they'll get sunburned, believe it or not. So a lot of indirect light, not direct light, right? For instance, here's another example. So I have a golden pothos in my bathroom, which has no window, and yet it still grows. However, the coloration is now only going towards green leaves, not the yellow variegated like we talked about. It's only staying green. It's because it's trying to suck in as much light to photosynthesize. Okay, so a lot of indirect light, but not direct sunlight. Keep that in mind. Soil. I mean, for pothos, just your general well-draining mix is more than enough for your pothos. They're not really picky. However, they do not want soggy soil. I repeat, you do not want to be just drenched with water all the time, okay? They don't want that. They're going to throw a little fit at you. They're also going to get sick as well as maybe get root rot. Maybe, all right? And of course, in that soil, maybe a little bit of perlite wouldn't hurt. It also helps, okay? But not soggy soils, all right? Well drained, all right? So keep that in mind. They don't want just compact dirt where it's just going to just sit there. The water's not just going to sit on the roots. They want to breathe every once in a while, known as aeration, okay? So that's the soil. Water. Watering this seems to be the biggest issue in indoor/outdoor plants, mostly indoor, like apartments or houses. So they prefer to dry out, not entirely. I repeat, prefer to dry out, not entirely, all right? So the first 2 inches of the soil should be dry. Let it dry out, okay? Just the 2 inches. You can always just use your finger as a measuring unit, okay? But they don't want too much water, and they just don't want to be completely dry out. They just want to dry out and breathe a little bit, okay? So remember that. When it comes to watering, water to a good amount, basic care, maybe 3 Mississippi, if that helps. And then just leave it alone until it dries out, not completely, okay? Just the first 2 inches. And that's pretty much it. Goes for all the pothos here, every pothos here. I mean, they have different looks and maybe a little bit of different characteristics, but generally speaking, it goes for all of them, all right? They don't want too damp, okay? Just let it dry out just a little bit. And that's pretty much it for watering. Basic, easy, done. Maintenance. Very, very simple. If you notice that you have a yellow leaf on the ivy somewhere, it just turns solid yellow, all it takes is just simply finding that leaf, finding it where it connects to the stem, and simply removing it. Of course, I can't find one over here. I don't really have an example over here, and I apologize for that, but I just take so much care for these guys. But keep in mind, though, if you see a yellow leaf, find it where it connects to the stem and simply pull off. And it's that easy. It's that easy. Now, when it comes to pruning, I generally don't prune pothos ivy. I kind of just let it grow out because that's what it's mostly used for, is that aesthetic look, is just let it naturally cascade off your pot, such as this. I don't prune it as much. Now, if you want to just keep it in the pot, then sure, stand by. If you want to prune it and just keep it in the pot, go for it. It's not going to hurt the guy. But you don't want to take off too much of the foliage, so to speak. All right, so pruning, not really going to bother him. I naturally just, I just let him go and do his own thing. He just simply enjoys it. They try to have that beautiful cascading jungle-like effect. Okay. Now, problems you're going to probably run into. One of which is the most common one, is water issue, right? If the leaves start to droop, it means it needs water. Easy, simple, okay? If it has like a, hard to describe. If the leaf, or you notice that some of the leaves or foliage is starting to lose its color, like it's no longer green in this example, it starts to turn like very transparent or yellow, it could be a deficiency in the soil. Maybe you just need some basic fertilizer. And how much and when you should apply fertilizer to pothos is every 1 to 3 months, depending. Now, that's your personal preference. Other problems, brown tips around the ridges, could be 2 things. It could be underwater, only if the lower leaves the lower part of the leaves, like the brand new leaves, are starting to have like browning necrosis. Like it's starting to get really, it starts turning dark brown, starts getting crusty. It could be underwatering issue. If it's on the older foliage, it could be overwatering issue, right? It has almost the same characteristics as over and under. So you have to really, so that's where that watering issue comes into play. We don't want to overwater it. We want to let it dry out. Remember that, right? Now, and that's pretty much it for basic problems. Now, you're going to run into so many problems, and it all depends on its environment, where it's at in the house, what are the conditions like, is it next to an air vent, yada, yada, yada. There's a lot of lists that you kind of have to do, you know, detective and say, okay, is it next to the air vent? Is it getting too much light? That's pretty much what you're going to have to learn or figure out in order to figure out what the problem is. And once you kind of identify the problem, then you can start going into how to care for it. Now, uses. What can you use it for specific pothos? I'll actually leave some links in the video, or excuse me, in the description below, so that you guys can check out as to why that is or what you can do with pothos. For starters, just like my marble queen, I normally have it in a hanging basket. And the reason why is because they eventually have that beautiful cascading effect. He's just starting, he's actually, I'll get into as to why he looks the way he does. But you can put it in a hanging basket. They have that beautiful cascading effect. You can just keep it in a simple pot and let it grow out. That's fine too. I've seen really a lot of interesting ways of what you can do with your pothos. I've seen people use what they call command hooks that you can probably buy online, and you can actually train your pothos ivy to grow up a brick wall in your apartment or house. It looks really cool. As well as your ceilings, as well as your walls. The choice is yours, all right? Now, when it comes to pothos ivy, they don't really climb and they don't really cling onto that wall or ceiling. So that's where the command hooks comes into play. I'll leave a description as to what that is. And again, you can actually look it up on Amazon or online. Totally your call. You can put it in your office, your bathroom, your grandma's house. You can put it practically anywhere. You can put it on your bookshelf, and it has a very aesthetic looking look to it. Very tropical looking, very jungle-like. So the choice is yours. You can always just, you know, I always use Pinterest as my way of inspiration. But in any case, that's what you could use it for. I mean, you can practically put it in your office, wherever, bathroom, whatever. The choice is yours. Now, side notes. Going back to what I mentioned about the definition for variegation or variegated, right? It's a lack of pigment in the zones of the specific leaf. So like that marble queen or that yellow pothos, or excuse me, the golden pothos. All right, so in instance, boom. These are all different lacks of pigment on the type of zones. I can't talk today. On different zones of the leaf itself, okay? So keep that in mind. It's just the lack of pigment color. And that's pretty much it. I mean, there's more detail as to why and what's going on between that. And, you know, the choice is yours if you want to look up to it. Again, I am just being simple, easy to understand what that means. Now, also, we're in November. We are in November. So at this time, if you have a garden, now is the time to fertilize perennials, annuals, also your bulbs like daffodils. Now is the time to apply. As well as applying blood meal. Blood meal is an amendment into the soil. We'll get into that in a later video. But now's the time to fertilize your bulbs, annuals, perennials using blood meal or whatever fertilizer you would choose. Also, at this time of the year, we apply mulch. Mulch is this time of year. You apply it towards your trees, your outside perennials or annuals, and of course, last but not least, if you have a garden or a flower bed outside, now's the time to apply annual bedding plants, such as pansies or kale or flowering cabbage. These guys are really hardy for the winter environments, especially cyclamen. They do pretty well. And of course, poinsettias, but that's inside. Once they hit a specific temperature, like 40 or under, they're going to throw a fit at you. You're going to lose the foliage. So poinsettias, keep them inside. All right, last but not least is my final message. I just want to thank you for watching this video. It's about 15 minutes long, and I apologize for that. I'm just trying to be as simple as possible. Now, any advice from you guys would be greatly appreciated. I always enjoy feedback, and I'm learning how to start this channel and as well as grow with this channel. So in this case, what should my next video be? What should it be about? What should I add to my videos? Music, I'm working on it. Editing, working on it. Everything is still a learning basis. But having said all that, I do appreciate you guys watching my video. I know my video, as well as the camera, is very, very shaky as well. It's been veering off to this direction. Again, I'm learning as I go. But in any case, I'm going to leave you with these final words. Life is a garden. Grow it. Have a good day. See you in the next video.